Hello, Sundaygrass listeners. My name is Sammy D, and I am your Sundaygrass Radio correspondent coming to you today with none other than Nova Scotia, Canada's Cameron Nickerson. Hi, Cameron.
Hello, Sam.
How are you today?
I'm doing just fine.
Glad to hear it. Thank you for joining. Cameron is actually my husband, and he's my first interview of the series. He's helping me with all my setup and making sure all of this is going to run smoothly for the rest of the interviews that we're going to do. So, thanks for being here today, Cam. Maybe start by telling me about a moment in your music career where you thought, okay, this might actually work.
Um, I would say not even too long ago, with the CCMA nomination that I received in 2025. That was a pretty big moment and milestone in my career. Um, and it just made me feel like things might keep rolling in that direction.
So, tell me a little bit more about the nomination and congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much,
I know
Sam.
all about it, but maybe tell the listeners what you were nominated for.
Innovative Campaign of the Year for my song Wheels of Steel. Cross Canada journey on the train.
And Wheels of Steel is one of the singles that you put out last year. And I believe it was your first Bluegrass single that you ever put out.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about your most recent music.
Well, it's a bluegrass album. It's going to be called The Wagon, and started recording that a couple of years back. And a lot of the tracks are focused on my sobriety before I got sober and after I got sober from alcohol. Um, and a couple of those songs too were written on the train. Um, and they all just kind of put together the feeling of, journeys before and after, of overcoming. Yeah.
Right on. And have you always played bluegrass music?
Negative. No. I despise country music of all sorts growing up as a child in the woods, believe it or not.
That is hard to believe because you've had quite a music career with country music over the last 10 years, maybe longer, I guess, right?
Country music, yeah, it's been a little while for sure.
hmm So tell me a little bit about how your music tastes and writing tastes have evolved over the years. How did it start and take me to where you are today?
Well, it started back in elementary school. I was in my first band. We were called Zero Tolerance. I played guitar and we sang songs like Sweet Child of Mine, Smoke on the Water, some Green Day. Um, and then in junior high, we transformed to the band named Tin Pot and still playing like rock and roll, but I had started writing some music. So we had a handful of original tunes we would throw in the mix. Um,
Country
and
songs?
no, these were still rock songs. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, kind of like rock and roll tunes, originals. Um, and then kind of around grade 9 was when I started getting back into country music or getting into country music for the first time. My brother always told me, "You're gonna go into country," and so every time I drove around with him, he would have a lot of good like 90s, early 2000s country on. He'd always tell me a story like you got to listen to the lyrics to this one, and that relating to the lyrics stuck with me. And in junior high, as one does, you get your heart broken and you break hearts. And being sad, I try to my hand out at putting my thoughts down on paper, and that got me just even more and more into country music and all the stories.
So where did you go from Tin Pot?
Uh, Tin Pop finished kind of right in before high school, and yeah, I was writing all these country songs, and you know, getting truck stuck in the mud and partying back at the camp and living the life. And I want to, form another band. I was missing playing music from Tin Pot. And so my best buddy, Matt Lancaster, I think it was in English class, we kind of decided to form a band for the Battle of the Bands that year, and we put together a four piece, and the Rockabillys were born, and we were a country rock band.
Right on. And
Yeah.
so, do you still play with the Rockabillys? What happened to the Rockabillys?
Well, we did just have a reunion show at our
Mm.
wedding. We got
Yes.
to see the Rockabillys.
That was my first time seeing the Rockabillys live.
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
No, we disbanded probably around 2015, and but we're all still bestest of friends, as you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good group.
Yes.
And when did you start your solo career?
2016, I started recording my first solo record, Detours. I was in Yarmouth back home for about a year or so when the band split up, and I was continuing to write songs. So I said, well, I'm going to try this again and put my name in the ring, and moved back to Halifax and started recording Detours, my first solo album.
Hmm. So you
Yeah.
mentioned moved back to Halifax. So where were you prior to that?
Back home in Yarmouth.
Tell me about growing up in Yarmouth. What was that like?
Small town, not a lot to do, but a lot of living, you know.
Do you think your upbringing in Yarmouth influenced your music career?
Uh, yeah, as much as living in a small town probably does. A lot of drama, a lot of crazy stories. We just partied and drove in trucks, like I was saying, and um, yeah, a lot of producing of good music, I guess.
Hmm. And the music that you're making now, um, it's been connecting with people lately. So for anybody who's maybe just discovering you for the first time, how would you describe the kind of music that you're trying to make now?
I think I'm just trying to, fill my soul with music I like. So a lot of bluegrass, country feeling stuff. But yeah, lyrically driven is what I'm aiming to, if I can help somebody going through something. Music's helped me a lot in the past with my own struggles, and I used to listen to stories from certain writers and just think about my life and how I want to change it. And hopefully I can do that with people from my music. And I think right now the music that I'm putting out, I think has a good chance of doing that.
Who would be some influential writers that you feel have influenced your writing and the way you want to write songs?
Uh, Probably like, well, Jason Isbell would be the main guy that I always think about because he had a few songs on some of his albums about his sobriety, and I really connected to those. And I always had in the back of my mind that I felt like I needed to be sober to really conquer my dreams.
Interesting. Do you think that's the case for all musicians?
No, not at all. Not
Hmm.
at all. No, I just knew that alcohol was holding me back in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And, and just life does that for people. And life still does that in certain ways. But, without the alcohol, it gives me a way better chance.
Hmm. Yeah, because music and alcohol seem to go hand in hand. Like you often see artists on big stages drinking a beer or taking shots before their show. So, how has it been for you navigating your sobriety in the music industry?
I think fine. I don't mind it all that much. People are pretty respectful with people that aren't drinking, and it's becoming very popular. There's more and more social settings that are surrounded by people that aren't drinking. It's still difficult for sure playing those gigs where you have people yelling out "Free Bird" or whatever, and you know. Um, because back in the day, it was easier to have a few yourself and kind of mend in with the crowd.
Hmm.
Uh, but no, it's a job, and I'm here to go to work, and being sober makes that job a lot easier.
Do you find it's like changed the way that you connect with your audience? Not drinking on stage?
Yeah, like even before I quit drinking, I stopped drinking on stage earlier. And I was nervous because you would think it would be harder to connect with people and entertain, but it's actually a lot easier because you just have more control.
Mm. Can you tell me a little bit more about your journey to sobriety and how long you've been sober for?
I've been sober since August 13th, 2022. And yeah, it was a decision that had to happen and haven't looked back just every day. But,
Just every day. What do you mean?
well, I feel like it crosses your mind almost like every day, somehow or another, um, whether I should be on a meeting or, whether I'm still living my life in a way to better myself, and that always stems back for me personally to how I felt with alcohol and making those decisions to leave it in the past.
Cam, if someone hears your name for the first time today and then goes to listen to one song, what song should it be and why?
Uh, um, maybe the John Prine, "Can You Bring Me Down" would be a good one to listen to. I think it has a good mix of just truthful stories and visions. I think it paints a picture of a place and time, and as well the message behind it. I think can resonate with a lot of folks. And sonically, I just think it's an easy listening tune to, maybe get stuck in your head and sing along to as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your new record, The Wagon. Um, this record is your debut bluegrass record. Is that right?
That's correct.
First time ever making a bluegrass record. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about the recording process. How was that for you? And how did it differ from your country albums that you've made before?
It was awesome. Even before the studio, putting the band together and the rehearsals was the first time I had been surrounded by a bluegrass band, as an adult, really ever, other than being a kid standing and listening. Um, so it was just super exciting. It was all new. And then even in the studio, we captured the record, and as you know, you were there in 2 days. And we had two people in at a time, recording their tracks. And it was the first record I ever produced by myself. So I was kind of behind the glass and doing the whole producing thing, which was fun, you know. I didn't even really think about it at the time. We were just in there to cut the record, and we were just, gluing the pieces in. And yeah, it just went so well. It was so much fun.
You mentioned this being your first bluegrass record. Do you feel like it's a far cry from the country music that you were making before?
No, because I think half of the songs on this record, if you put a steel guitar and some brushes in the back and a little bit of, you know, electric guitar, a lot of these tunes could be a country record. I'm not trying to be a traditional bluegrass guy because I know I'm not. I'm, dipping my toes. All the instruments are, bluegrass instruments, and I still want to make, Cameron Nickerson music, whatever that is, um, you know, kind of in a bluegrass world.
Mm. What was the draw for bluegrass and why now?
Well, meeting you, Sam, you changed my life in so many ways. And I
Aw.
felt like I want to keep taking chances. And I want to show you at the time of our early relationship that I was, making music and a go-getter as you are. And so, yeah, that really put a fire under my ass to, just make these demos and say, yes, I'm recording a bluegrass record. Damn it.
I think it's important to touch on too that like bluegrass still feels like a very true genre for you. And I think that's evident in the album, even though it's more of a contemporary bluegrass record. But tell me a little bit about like the influence in bluegrass for you. Where did that come from, and why did you veer from country into like strictly acoustic and bluegrass music for this record?
Well, my grandfather played bluegrass when I was growing up in a band. He wrote songs and sang. They were called the 340 South. So it was just always around. We were going to, festivals, and Grampy was always playing somewhere. Um, and it was Grampy's music that I grew up with, like on the CD player. It was like Grampy and the Beatles, so his song Little Country Home and The Old Man, they were just as famous in my mind as any other song. So it was just always bluegrass. Dad played in a bluegrass band, so the stand-up bass was always in the corner. So I always kind of knew about his past and playing bluegrass, and so yeah, it was just bled into me. Um, and again, I always said I wanted to make a bluegrass album at some point. So the timing was everything on that one.
What do you like about bluegrass?
For me, it just feels like home. It just feels like I can put it on, especially if it's a nice sunny day and the sun's shining down, shut my eyes, and I'm like a 7-year-old, you know, in that blissful state. It's a time traveler for me.
Nice. Who are like some bluegrass influences that you admire or like? Like, who do you listen to?
Well, like my grandfather, be number one.
What's his
Uh,
name?
Alton Nickerson, that's his
Shout out Alton.
guitar right behind you.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah,
that's
that's one up there.
yeah. Um, and like modern day Billy Strings for sure. Especially leading up to recording this album, I was listening to a lot of Billy Strings and just seeing how popular he was and how well he was doing in the music industry. Was very eye-opening for me. Balsam Range was a big one for me. The last, 5 to 6 years, I listened to a lot of them. And then just like, the greats, Doc Watson, I even like some Ricky Skaggs, uh, Seldom Seen, Act One, favorite bluegrass album. But I'm not an encyclopedia with bluegrass. Like I went a lot of my life not even like country music.
Mhm.
Um, and then in my country music recording days, I was listening to a lot of Sturgill Simpson, Waylon Jennings, like real country, music. Um, so it's been nice not only playing bluegrass music, but getting back into listening and diving deep into the genre.
Is there a song on this new record that you feel captures the heart of the whole project?
Yeah, I think the wagon, the title track, um, the dobro in there, and the subtle little bass, um, instrument wise, and then just the lyrics on that track kind of, sums everything up for me on that one. It's kind of the song is kind of a teeter-totter, like, whether I'm on or off the wagon and deciding to stay on, but knowing like if I fell off, what would happen, you know.
Do you remember where you were when you wrote The Wagon?
Yeah, I believe I was at the cottage in Forest Glen. And I was sober at that time. I tried to get sober for I think it was like 6 or 7 months, and I decided to drink again, and that didn't work out. But it was during that kind of first state of sobriety for me. I wrote that tune.
Let's talk about the focus track for the record. It's called Weldon on a Wheel. Can you tell me a little bit about that tune?
Yeah, that's the newest song that I would have written that's on the record. Wrote that when I knew you, when I met you not long after. Um, and that song's just a cry for wanting to feel the buzz again, just for one night, you know. Um, yeah, and I wrote that. I wrote it with Joe H. Henry. I had the verses written, and I didn't know where to go for a chorus, and so Joe and I sat down with it, and we were both vibing off of it, and he sang this really cool melody chorus, and I didn't really know what he meant at the beginning, welding on a wheel, and it kind of just formed into this uh, idea and feeling of the whole album, really, I guess, like, welding in that wheel, like it's not falling off. Um, so even though the song is about temptation and kind of longing, it's as well, you know, it's a conclusion song. It's
Yeah, it's kind of like a declaration.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
my wheel is welded onto the wagon. It's not going anywhere.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm.
And so when Weldon on a Wheel, that came up, just that title and the chorus lyric, I connected it to the wagon in my mind right away. Like, oh, this is kind of lining up to fit on this album nicely.
So you have a couple of other things coming up. One of those things being an album tour. Yeah,
Yes.
tell me a little bit about the tour.
Well, yeah, we're hitting the road. We've started at the Carlton in Halifax, and we're all over the Maritimes. And I'm not sure if the dates will be announced when this is aired or yet, but we've got more. We're adding on. We're heading out to Ontario and Quebec. So yeah, it's definitely going to be the biggest tour for an album release that I've ever done. Really excited to just go play these songs for people.
Yeah, does playing them live change your relationship with the songs? Like, how does it feel to play these album songs live?
Oh, it feels great. Again, a lot of them come from the heart. So there's nothing like being on stage in a room where people are listening and just you know, letting your heart out. It's hard, I find, to speak a lot of these feelings in
Hmm.
interviews and such. But singing is a nice way to really let out how you're feeling, and then have people come up after and say, "Hey, man, I've been sober for 10 years, and that song really spoke to me." That's what it's all about. And so when you're out on the road, the chances for that happening are great.
What are some places on the tour you're especially excited to play?
Well, we're going back to Yarmouth. I'm excited to go back home and play with our friend's all mother.
After 15 years plus, really making your own music, releasing this record feels like kind of a big milestone. It's a change in genre. It's your third full-length album. What does this chapter mean to you personally?
It just feels right, I think. Um, you know, Finally now with music and this record especially, it really feels like, no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like everything I've got is gonna be figuring it out how to make this happen.
I certainly felt that way about you when I heard your music before I ever met you. That music was something you were supposed to be doing. So it's been a great pleasure of mine to be able to help make this project come to life for you as well.
No, of course.
No. If someone listens to the wagon start to finish, what do you hope that they walk away with?
I hope they walk away with a tap and toe, a melody in their head, and maybe a sharpened mindset.
Mm. Yeah, because from what we've talked about so far, like the record actually seems quite serious. So when you say, I hope they walk away with a tap and toe, that's kind of a surprising thing to hear based on what we've said so far. So maybe let's talk a little bit more about that. Like, not all the songs are slow ballads, you know?
Oh no, for sure. It's yeah, a lot of upbeat tunes. Even some of the darkest ones are the most groovy.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
pretty driving songs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I think the spike in the fall it's kind of a uphill rise with the tracks.
Some of the more like lighthearted tunes, why did you decide to include those on an album that's pretty heavy, like in terms of content.
Well, I wanted a little bit of feel good in the album. And I think even in the dark times, there was a lot of lighter times too. It wouldn't have felt so good if it didn't feel so good.
Mhm.
Uh, so you got to have some feel good in there.
Tell me about what's next for you after the record comes out and your tour is pretty much concluded. What's next?
Well, we're just going to keep the wheel rolling westward, and we're going to be westward bound. We're heading out to Alberta.
Do you have any plans for where music would go after this? Are you going to continue down this bluegrass road, or have you thought about going back to country?
Definitely going to continue down the bluegrass road for a while. I'm sure I'm going to want to rock out again someday in my life, but it feels too good right now to change up.
Lastly, if people would like to support you, Cameron Nickerson, and follow the journey along, listen to the wagon, where would they find you?
Well, all streaming platforms, Spotify's, the Apple Music, CameronNickerson.com for those web users, and Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Uh, yeah, Google me and you'll find me.
We'll end with a preview of Cameron Nickerson's newest single focus track, Weldon on a Wheel. Thank you so much, Cameron, for joining Sundaygrass today, and we'll see you all very soon. Enjoy this last tune from Cameron Nickerson.